progress reports today. Next Monday is Christian and Ian. Friday is Valerie. She's our first guest, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, at the end of class, I want to say a few things about pieces you gave me, which I've marked up. You can have those back at the end of class. And don't forget your application program material that I want to collect this coming Friday. So that'll get us started in that area. Any new issues come up around process, procedure, policy, ground rules, any of that? One other thing I wanted to check with you guys on that I guess comes under the heading of housekeeping. I got an email from Andrew about some people who are coming here Wednesday. I think they're in the entertainment business. You guys know anything about that?
You mentioned something today about that.
About DreamWorks.
What's that?
DreamWorks? And Turner.
Yeah.
He posted
Turner.
on Blackboard, so I think we all got emails.
Well, my question is this. It's right when we meet, and if you guys want to go to it, we'll just do that instead of class Wednesday. If you're not going to it, then we'll have class as usual.
This is Wednesday?
12 to 2.
So you need to let me know, don't let me know Wednesday, let me know. Let me know before that. So think about it, and maybe if you don't know anything about it, you've got to do some research. I'm not sure how to work this. Well, let me just see. Anybody planning on going to it who knows about it now?
I've heard
One,
I'd like to.
two, okay.
I won't be here.
Huh?
I won't be here on
You won't be here Wednesday? Okay, well, that's your trip. Well, this may work out great for you. You had no idea, right? Okay, well, if some of you want to go, that's probably enough just to say we won't meet Wednesday, because I don't want to say, well, there's not enough, we're going to have class, and those of you who wanted to go didn't get a chance to do it. What it sounds like is they're going to talk about, they're going to talk to several fields, including architecture, I guess, about work in that area, and so it can have something to do with job types, The reason I'm bringing it up is because you guys are in your last year. I was thinking, well, you see the gate coming up, you may be thinking about that kind of thing. So we'll just make that decision that we're not going to meet Wednesday. And meanwhile, the rest of you who don't know about it, I would recommend you look at it because it may be a window onto something that leads to something, or at least that you're interested in. All right, which one of you guys wants to go first this morning? You go first, okay. The floor is yours.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Desmond. And for my thesis, finally nailed down the topic, except I'm probably having trouble with one of the pieces of my topic and title. And right now it's photo collage as a process, representation, and artifact in architectural design. Artifact meaning architecture. The only problem I have with my topic so far is the representation part that I'm probably going to talk to my thesis chair this week. Just to give you a little summary about it, what I planned to do was take photography and try to glean lessons from photography and use those lessons to build or design an architectural artifact. But as I kept on reading, stumbled upon this book. It's not by this guy named David Hockney. He's a famous painter, photographer, one of the fathers of pop art as far as painting. And in his book, what he discussed about photography had architectural elements in it. Like he talked about experience. He talked about time. He talked about perspective, because his main thought was a single photograph by itself, it's flat. It's one perspective. And he was saying we as humans, we don't really see or experience the world like that. You need to catch that? I was just messing with you. But no, he said we don't experience the world like that. Usually we experience the world through time. If you're looking at somebody or if you're walking through a room. So I thought, okay, I think this is the area where I want to head into, which kind of killed some of my bibliography at first, because I had a whole bunch of photography books lined up, and I said, well, if I'm going to go this route, then I probably need to kill some of these. So right now, for my bibliography, I'm looking for books on collage, possibly photo montage, but photo montage is a little bit more specific than collage, because photo montage deals with more so photography by itself. Yeah, collage, photo montage, and after talking with my chair, people to look at are Pablo Picasso, and someone threw to me a guy named Romir Bearden, and other people like Rock. And so far, and I've stumbled upon a website called Collage in Architecture, which was very helpful, and I still have to go through it some more. And even the lady who started that website, she's coming out with a book soon, which I plan to add to literature review. The problem is I just have to wait for that book, and it comes out in October, so hopefully I'll get it soon. Other than that, I think in my whole, as far as the journey of my thesis, the main problem I'm thinking about is my application. I feel like if I can nail my application down, then that will help me steer towards the correct research, as we've all discussed here in class. So the main problem I'm having in my research, well, my application now, is that I feel like I can look for certain artists and collage artists and see how they did collage and pull lessons from them, and then compare and contrast those, and maybe choose one or two of those to use their theories or their ways of working to make an architectural artifact. Or I can look at collage as a whole and then just mention these guys and then use that to make an architectural artifact. So that's where I am presently.
And let's see who's got comments and questions.
Question, is it going to be building or furniture? What is your...
Right now I'm thinking about a building. I thought at first it wasn't going to be possible, because as far as architects and buildings, I in my research I didn't see any architects who were using collage as a way of a building process. But the lady who's putting this book out on the website, she mentioned some architects, like Le Corbusier is one of them, and she mentioned about 2 or 3 more architects who use the collage as a process for building. So I plan on a building. That's what my hope is for right now. Unless I go over with my chair and she says, well, I think, we'll discuss, but right now it's the building type.
Who is your chair?
Valerie Goodwin.
My understanding of like what a collage is like different pieces coming together to make one whole, like one final piece.
Right.
So is it that the concept is going to be different pieces coming together to create one building, or is it that the building itself will be a collage? Like, it's not like different programs in the building coming together to make one whole building, or is it that the building type itself, like the materials, the colors, stuff like that will come together to make one ideal collage building?
One ideal collage. Yeah, that's the area. I had that thought tumbling around in my mind this weekend, as far as an application, because my other thought was, application. Well, what, as far as the building collage, a collage I was looking at, they took different things and, like you said, put them together. And the idea I was thinking about, what if I took different pieces of buildings and put them together and make that one whole? But the only thing, the halts that I have is that I'm sort of looking at why a person or why an artist chose to do collage this way. Like with the guy David Hockney, he like if he were to take a picture of this room, he would probably start here and then just start taking pictures up and down, and he would move from left to right and take them pictures. And then at the end of it, let's say he probably would have about 500 4x6s, and he would lay them all out and start to piece them together. And then, like we were discussing about the painting last week, he would look at it, and 3 or 4 days would pass by, and he would look at it, he was like, no, that doesn't work. And he described this process of drawing with his hands, trying to put this whole collage together. So I'm thinking, if I do it, do I go about this whole looking at the building differently, in different ways, and then putting that together, or the way you just described?
I'm seeing more like layering, like stuff overlapping where like when some stuff meet, it will be something new, or probably it will eliminate one aspect of architecture and something different. So basically like creating something new.
I was just thinking, when you mentioned the way he takes pictures, have you thought about when you pick your site? I don't know if you picked your site yet.
No, I haven't picked my site.
Doing that kind of method, like if it's local, where you can take pictures of the whole entire site, putting it together, creating kind of like a matrix where you can come up with elements to use in the building. Like, you know, all the windows come together, you come up with this cool shape, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna use that and extract it out.
Okay.
I think he's got a point there, is that I think in your design process, you need to start with the site. You know what I mean? Like, you're not sure you're going to do a building. Well, I think maybe, it sounds to me like in collage, you want to have an idea of what belongs on the site, and then you start with your collage, and you start taking pictures of context and everything, and then, I don't know.
Okay.
You said something that I wanted to make sure I was clear about.
Okay.
That you felt like the precedent section of your thesis needed to be about architects who had used collage to make buildings.
Right. That's
And I want to say, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't think you have to find that. Maybe your precedents are about the building type. Let's just say, I'm just going to make this up. Remember, we're talking about collusion and collision theses. Well, a collusion thesis would be, you're going to do a gallery for one of these photo collage photographers. You're going to really push into him or her, really understand their principles, and in addition to that, bring principles down from collage in general, and do a building to house collage that's, by the way, generated by collage. You know, that would be an example. Okay, to go back to my original comment, I don't think you have to find galleries that have been designed by collage. You just need to find some galleries that are nicely done so you learn about the building type.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you will be researching collage as a concept, you'll be researching the chosen artists, you'll be researching whatever the pieces of your thesis topics are. And it sounds to me so far there are two, there's photography and there's collage. So I see at least two streams of analysis that are somehow brought together. It's probably more important that you study the artists who have produced the collage. That's almost a different kind of precedent study, where you're looking at these people who've done collage,
Right.
in addition to looking at the building type, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, there's no doubt that the topic is valid. I think you can do a very artful thing out of this. I don't think you have to look around for people who designed with collage. Maybe your thesis is gonna be to show what it's like to do that, even though not many people have ever worked it before. It's the investigation that you're pursuing. What's it like to adopt collage as a design process, you know, that kind of thing. And so in that sense, you may be pioneering a new path. You may look around and not really find that many people who have done it. And that's okay. You know? Plus you're working with an artist as your chair, so there should be a good fit there. She'll be in sync with sort of the spirit of this and kind of where you want to go with it.
Have you looked at like the Guggenheim in Bilbao? Frank Gehry, the way he built it?
Not yet.
Because it was kind of a rough sketch that he did, and I don't know if I guess it'll be a collage or not, but the building itself is kind of like a collage with all the materials put together.
Yeah, I remember seeing that documentary. I think I was so excited because I told my dad this dude designed a building and he scribbled.
Yeah, you could Google it. Yeah, you'll be able to see it because when I was there, you see they have like TVs everywhere and they show you the whole process. I had no idea that's what it was. Same thing with the Gaudi Sagrada Familia. The way he built it with all these concept models, they were all kind of, I don't know if that might be collage or not, but it was different materials put together, and that's how you get this kind of like rough look, like the building's going up, kind of thing. So
could you text what you just said?
Yeah.
Not all of that, just the name and the building.
Yeah.
I see.
Well,
Because that's
the
what I
video
was
will be
thinking.
up anyways. The video should be up.
Okay, but still, I might not catch it. I'm just.
yeah, because I mean maybe you can still use photography. Because I remember I did a project in design for my other school where we had a creative matrix of the adjacent buildings with lines, and you create this crazy matrix, and from there you're gonna take the shapes that you find out and build the building kind of like in a collage way, by clusters and just putting it together. So I don't know. I think that might be good examples.
Yeah, I was on the website I was talking about. There are these guys in Europe somewhere. I think Eastern Europe. They've come up with this computer algorithm, and it almost looks like the artist I was talking before, David Hockney. Almost looks like a multi-perspective image where I think they take pictures of the building, or the computer grabs the image and it picks pieces, and you pick the different perspective points. Then it just starts throwing stuff together at will, and then you end up with this nice done image.
I think my sense is there's some mileage, for lack of a better term, there's some mileage in collage theory
Yeah.
before you even look at the medium. And I don't think photography is a bad medium to attach. I don't think you can just look at collage as an abstraction. You got to look at collaging with something. And photography is probably a good companion to that, versus collage with natural materials or collage with, you know. So to me, that's a good pairing. But what I'm thinking about, if you get into collage theory as well as photography theory, I'm betting there are some ideas and mechanics and configurations in there that go deeper than just looking at collage. You know, they're the sort of deep principles of collage that might get you into some innovative exercises, transformational exercises, like instead of thinking of collage like we normally think of it as a series of overlap, juxtaposed, maybe accidental, marriages of things. Maybe you begin to look at intersections of things, or you look at what happens when collage is made of solid things,
Right.
or interlocking things, or what happens when collage is wire instead of solid, and you've got air, but things are just designed linearly. So you have maybe a whole bunch of transformational exercises to get your muscles going in preparation for your building application that just flex collage as a conceptual, theoretical exercise, that kind of thing. I'm hoping that you and your chair can tap, and that you won't just sort of treat collage in a surface way, you know, that you really push into it. And one of the ways to make sure you drill into it is the way you're going is find some artists who live and breathe this stuff, and who maybe their work isn't just public, but they've written about it, and they've thought about it, and they've spoken about it. In other words, they've expressed their ideas, and see what they say about their collage. So I think, you know, there's some real pearls in there to be harvested if you push into it right.
Are you trying to make like a museum or something? Or like an art museum? I just came to my head.
I was thinking about a museum. I was thinking about a library.
Like an art school. maybe.
Because I wanted to do a building that I haven't done before in design class.
Because there was one, I forgot where it was at. It was in Spain. I have it at home pictures. It was an environmental science museum, and the whole museum was built to resemble art. So the whole entire facade of it is like an art piece.
Nice.
Like it's just this crazy facade, and I don't know, but it goes with the museum. So I don't know. I was just thinking.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the building types that we just mentioned are also good extension or collusion applications. Who can think of some collusion applications? Who can think of what we sense the spirit of collage is, and a building type that you would apply it to that you'd never expect it to be applied?
Like hospital.
Government. Hospital? Okay, what else? Because that's, I agree with you, it's about order, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't mess around with a hospital, but here comes this art thing. What do you get when a building type can't afford to mess around, and here you get this arty thing colliding with? That's a very good example of a collision thesis. I don't know about the scope of that, I'm not sure I'd take on a hospital.
I'll put it
You can
as
take
a
on
side.
you can take on a clinic, though.
Yeah, that's more crazy.
It's really, I think of collage as being, allowing accident and chance into things, and being very non-logic, more intuitive, more instinctual. So any building type that's logic, order, clarity, you know, that would be a collision thesis. It'd be something that you didn't expect to apply it to.
Actually, look in Google Maps and go to Bilbao. All the buildings that are around the Guggenheim Museum, they're doctor's office and lawyer's offices. You would never you think it's an art museum, because what they did is they tried to copy what the Guggenheim with all these crazy shapes. They tried to do that on all the facades around there.
Wow.
So I don't know if it was maybe a law put in place and they had an update, but I was just like, wow, this is pretty cool. So they I guess they raised the standard when they made that museum, and that might help because it's like two different things.
What is the difference between photo montage and collage photos?
When I was researching it, they said a collage is like I can grab different elements that can hold, touch,
Right.
feel, including photos, and put them together and create a whole composition.
Right.
A photo montage would basically be taking photos and putting them together as one composition, but only photos, as if that photo and that photo happened at the same time. Whatever. So basically, those guys like myself who perform Photoshop tricks, where there may be a picture of a girl in a long flowing dress, and there's a picture of clouds, but I can take the clouds and manipulate it so that the clouds look like the dress, like.
Okay.
Yeah, then that's an example of photo montage, digital photo montage.
So, have you explored that? Can you do?
I would like to, but I feel like if I go down the photo montage route, then I'm gonna start going down a different route, even though it's under the umbrella of.
But that's
collage.
only digital. I mean, what about? So can you cut up, like, say if I had a portrait that I took and I cut it up
Mm-hmm.
and or like you said, Hockney does with a bunch of different photos and cuts them up and puts them together.
Oh, he doesn't cut them.
Oh, he doesn't cut them?
No, he
just lays
doesn't.
them on top of each
Right,
other?
they're still squares, they're still
Oh.
rectangles, and he just
Okay.
lays them on. He lays them on top of each other.
So is that just collage
'Cause-
or is that photo montage?
That's with him, he calls it both, because he's like, it's collage, it's a photo montage. It's very hard because your face is showing my grief in the searching process. It's very hard to see like the fine line between the two because it's kind of like they cross over. Like you could say, I believe you could say a photo montage is a collage, but it would be difficult to say that all collages are photo
Right,
montages.
because like I'm studying collage because it's part of one of the serialist process, but their collages that kind of stem from Dadaism, it's like different pictures or different pieces assembled together. So I can take a picture from a catalog and then, you know, a picture from an ad in the newspaper and take some text from a book and then, you know, put it all together.
Right,
And that's a collage. But then that has nothing to do with photography
right.
or architecture. So it's just kind of like, that's what I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the difference, like, or what's specific about photo montage? Is it just you getting a picture or one picture and assembling it, or is it, you know, like you said, digital one where you're blurring?
Oh no, that was just one specific example I was giving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I could do the same like you said. I could take a picture from a magazine. I could take another picture of someone else. And I could take another picture of someone else, then put it together artistically. And
So that's just a regular collage, but that's not a photo montage.
To me, right now, that would probably be more so a photo montage.
That's good.
Now, if I took a canvas, if I had a canvas and I took a picture, put it on there, then I grabbed like someone's pen, put it on there, and I grabbed a branch from a tree. and
No,
put it
like
on
I
there.
get
I'm
that.
just- okay,
It's just kind of like, because collage has been around before photo montage.
right.
So that's what I'm trying to say, like, yeah, I guess there had to be like a clear, I guess, delineation between the two. I mean, for your thesis in general, because if you said collage, then it's just like, well, that's so broad in general, because, you know, like you said, it doesn't even have, maybe I'm like saying around with pictures, you know, from a magazine,
Yeah,
but,
but also my topic is photo collage.
okay. So yeah, that's,
So,
I guess, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm
So only photos.
yeah, I'm gonna stay right there in photos
Okay.
because because that's what I was looking at first
Okay.
because I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all of collage
Yeah.
and try to. No, that's not real.
Gotta go to the next one now.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Okay.
my bad there. I'm greedy.
Alright, what happened with mine, I ended up changing my title. It's the same topic, but sort of different. At first it was, the effects of minimalist art on, specifically the still here on architecture. But after talking to, Professor White and other professors, they said it was too long. I don't really know what that meant with it. So I had to change it, and now it's minimalism in art. So, I mean, minimalist art in architecture. So, at first I was just focusing on like the steel. I was gonna do Mondrian and Rybel, and I was gonna focus on like the 2D Mondrian and 3D Rybel, and then kind of get kind of like a collaboration of those, kind of do some for my application. But now I ended up with several other artists from the whole entire minimalist period. So I have a few from the steel, which I still kept right there. And what I wanted to do was some of the ones from the 60s. So it's gonna be like John Paulson, which is he's an architect, Undo, which are the architects, and then I'm doing painters, which is Robert Mango and what's his name? Frank Stella. Those are the two painters, and then the sculptors are gonna be Granville and Donald Judd. So with those, breaking them up into 3 different categories. I have architecture, painting, and sculpture. So, and even within those subtitles, the sculptors, one of them does kind of like almost like installation sculpture, and the other one does furniture. And then with the painters, one does like these really colorful kind of like overlapping paintings, and the other one does like strictly like sectioned off where the colors don't bleed in each other. And then for the architects, Ando does his specific style architecture, which well, both of them are doing museums now, but I'm pretty sure you've seen like pictures of these houses. They have like the entire inside are just white, and it's like you can't really see where you can't really see one material phase into another one. Everything's just like smooth on the inside. That's more of a polishing, but Ando shows material sometimes. So even within those subheadings, I wanted to get kind of like a diverse group, and then get a collaboration of all their ideas, and then come up with like a specific theory that each one has that's different than the other ones, and come up with like maybe like party models or different things that I could, like a 3D version of their theories and their thoughts, and then come up with like parties, and then after that do maybe like an artwork of maybe do artwork using their theories and their style. So I would do a painting that focuses kind of on Frank Stella or Robert Mango, kind of collaboration of maybe one of them's black and white, straight painting, and the other one with the overlapping colors, and it come up with something. And the same thing with sculpture, and the same thing I might come up with the parts of architecture. And then after I come up with those theories and those 3D elements, push those into an architecture form, which would be my application. So what I've been doing is just getting theories from looking at different theories. I got some new books. I ordered a few that have like just talks about like some of their sculpture theories and their design process. And I think that's important. So basically what I'm trying to do is get a good understanding of their design process, so I could, I guess, like mimic or take what they're doing to kind of and put my own spin on it. So that's kind of what I'm doing now.
What's your application again? What are you thinking about for your
It's gonna be a art gallery, and it's gonna be, my site is Atlanta, and it's right across from the High Museum. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Questions?
Are you gonna use circles?
Absolutely not.
Inside design.
So what I'm hearing is you're looking at 3 flavors of minimalism: painting, sculpture, architecture. You're going to push into each one of those using these individuals, harvest some principles, gather them, look at what you're going to do with what you've harvested, and then apply it to something.
Right.
And the other wrinkle in there, which is interesting to me, is you're going to produce a painting and a sculpture using minimalism as a theme or a driver. I think that should be interesting. You're comfortable doing that. Your background is in art, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you'll be comfortable doing that. Yeah, I like the idea of you trying out their game in their arena. Do a painting, do a sculpture, and then see how all that applies to the architecture. The thing that feels a little bit of a blip to me, you will have already looked at architecture, you will have produced a painting and a sculpture. I'm not sure what you're going to do with the architects. It almost feels to me like the third set of artists don't want to be architects, so that you're the one who applies it to the architecture rather than looking at those architects. Or you pick a third art type, and then the architect architects are not part of that threefold stream, you're looking at architects who do minimalist work, but it's not part of this art exploration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that you're gonna eventually apply it to architecture makes that third leg seem weird,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I would air that out with your chair and see whether you wanna pick a third art that's not architecture, because you're gonna apply it down here anyway. And then, well, it sounds like we're gonna have a lot of galleries, which I guess is okay.
When you say art gallery, do you have any precedents for?
Yeah, I was looking at, John Foster did some galleries. Like the architect I chose, he did a few smaller art galleries, and I'm trying to think, it was this other guy he did. Donald Judd, he's an artist, but he actually did his own gallery. It's in Marfa, Texas. So I was looking at some of the things, some of those things.
Are you saying is it like a small gallery, or the whole building being kind of like a big gallery, making a museum in a way, or just a gallery?
It's kind of like it's gonna be a gallery, which I say gallery because it's gonna be like a smaller museum. So my whole thing was thinking about like, okay, at the High Museum in Atlanta, if you have like all these art districts and like schools around Atlanta, what do you do before you're able to get into the High Museum? It's like you would have a gallery where you can kind of show your work. Maybe if some of the students have good work that they can show. It'll be kind of like a prequel to being able to get, I guess, take that next step. So it won't be as big as an entire museum, but it'll be kind of like a smaller.
But you're gonna make it thinking of like the way they kind of make their sculptures and the art, kind of very minimalistic.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you say that, the first thing I think is just a white room.
Yeah.
Kind of like Renzo Piano's. I think it's called the Thai Museum, or or just you just let the light in kind of thing. All right.
Yeah.
So for, are you doing the painting and push? Also, you're doing the painting and sculpture?
Yeah.
Are you using those to translate into architecture, or is it gonna be like a transformative process into architecture? Or are those just to kind of like help you get into the style of minimalism?
Kind of to get into the style, I'm using it almost like it's a larger party diagram kind of.
So the painting won't become a building.
Yeah,
Sculpture
that's kind of
won't become a building. That's just a warm up.
Right.
And then you're gonna.
It's kind of, I guess, embrace the whole minimalist thing, like from all sides. So that way when I go into the building, I would kind of know what I'm doing. Instead of not really transforming the painting into it.
Now, this High Museum, where is it located?
Atlanta.
All right, I've never been there. Well, so are you trying to make something that attaches to that existing building, or are you gonna have something separate?
It's separate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's separate. It's not like, it's down the street. It's on the same street, but it's not like close to it.
Why don't you pick that site?
Because around this site, it's a lot of, it's like you have SCAD, you have an art museum. It's actually another smaller art museum there, and art schools, and it's like a lot of artsy districts around there. So I was thinking that they don't have a real gallery or anything. It's like all the galleries they have like inside of the school or like small like that. There's no real, just per se gallery for anybody.
So it's not like, so the site's not informing, it's not gonna inform your space, it's just gonna be a place to house, your application.
You may want to think further about the nature of your gallery, so it's not just a gallery, but it somehow attaches to the minimalist thing. What I'm thinking of, obvious thoughts would be things like a gallery for a particular artist or a group of artists who happen to do this kind of thing. So that the nature of the gallery, having come out of minimalist work or your minimalist thinking, fits the nature of the art that's going to tend to be housed there. as opposed to just saying, well, I'm gonna do a gallery that doesn't have any agenda that it's got to meet or any particular kind of art that it has to house. To me, you're gonna have a more interesting challenge if you put a spin on the gallery. You know, the spin, an obvious spin would be for these three artists, I'm gonna show their sculpture, I'm gonna show her paintings, and I'm gonna show this person's, you know, collages or photos or whatever it happens to be. And a good example of a collision would be a minimalist building theoretically isn't gonna be a busy, nervous building. It's all about simplicity. Put it someplace where that's gonna be a challenge. You know, we have a little bit of an issue between what minimalism tends to generate as a form and where it has to sit. You know, that would be another example of a spin on a project. What other ideas come up for you guys that you hear what he's talking about?
Will you be on your painting and on your sculpture for warm up? Will you take notes on those as well and like document what you learn through the process and then put that on your building?
For the artwork that you're going to be housing in the gallery, is that going to keep changing, or is it going to be artwork that's going to be the same?
Changing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's changing. But now, after listening to what Professor White said, it might be something that could be installed. So, because I know a lot of minimalists, they would take a gallery space and pretty much transform the space into exactly what they want it to be. So it's not like you see a lot of pedestals and different things. Like they might have something coming out of the floor or something.
Yeah.
So maybe if it was something that was permanently installed, it would be like that.
There's a building in New York. There's actually Professor Odd showed us this. I forgot. It's all it is for the building. Literally, is shaped 4 white boxes, and that's all it is. And the whole building is a gallery, but it's just super minimalistic. It's they change the whole, like when they say, I guess they do exhibits, whatever it's according to, they change the inside to make it feel like if it was meant to be built for that. I don't forget what it's called. I think
It's a museum, right?
It's
Yeah,
in that neighborhood, right?
It's in the neighborhood where it's like there's nothing there, and then it's like an older neighborhood, and literally all you see is 4 boxes like staggered like that.
Are they?
I think it's by
they're not,
Cinema
they're not.
They're staggered.
stacked on
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
It's
something like
It's
that.
by Sonata.
It's like Kazuyu,
Yeah.
Sejima, and
It was
it's Sonata.
It was a design competition they won, and I was just thinking that could be a good example, because even the stairs to go up are really small, and they did that on purpose where it moves, kind of give you an experience. So, I don't know.
that's one of the first buildings I did precedent on.
You know, when I think of minimalist objects, you know, you can find minimalist music, you can find minimalist authors and writers. But I think of the Vietnam Memorial as a minimalist thing. You know, obviously the poster child for a long time, actually still to a large degree, of minimalism is Mises' Barcelona Pavilion. Just a couple of planes, you know, and some glass, and that's it. There's really nothing else there. I think of Brancusi as a minimalist sculptor too. You know, he's the one that did the bird. It's just sort of one big swooping metal thing. So you've got a lot of really neat inspiration around you. I'm not saying you need to expand your net or your scope of what you're looking at, but it's a really rich area, and I would guess you're going to find things not only under those artists, but minimalism as a theoretical system. You know, before you even look at particular artists, you know, what is it? And there's also a really interesting marriage between minimalism and poetry. Poetry is about compression and simplification and throwing in and trimming the fat and getting it down to simple, essential words that convey something. And the epitome of that is haiku, you know, 17 syllables to compress an experience. So there's so many interesting avenues there, you know. I'd have trouble saying, okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm not gonna do that. But as you're finding out, the thesis requires you to lay some things down and not do it all. Any other ideas on either one of these? Well, they're both interesting. It's fun for me to hear two together because you get these interesting contrasts between emphases and focus and theme. So we'll get together next on Friday with Valerie. Let me say a few things about these things before I give them back. I'm beginning to push into these things a little more than I did before. I'm beginning to do a little more editing. So the main thing I want to say as I give these back is I don't want you to take my comments as equal with whatever your chair is saying. The most important conversation, I keep reminding us, is between you and your chair. And the most important work that's going to be done is your own. But I am jotting some reactions down, and I do want to invite you to at least think about them, because sometimes it's clear that something's missing, or that if you flip this with that, you have clear logic. Other comments are really about more subtleties that you can look at and decide what you want to do with. So come on up and grab your packets, and I'll look forward to the pieces that you've got. Pieces that you've got on Friday. You had given me this piece earlier, but I had some other reactions to it instead. And as before, you guys are beginning to learn my handwriting. If you've got questions or need interpretations, let me know.
I'm skipping through, but I don't know what they're saying. I said I'm flipping through, but I don't know what they're saying. I can't read it.
Oh, let's look at it.